So we've seen a lot of presentations this morning on the structural end, but that's great to make sure we get out of the ground, and that's often on our critical path. But on this project, the Maryland General Hospital project, as with any healthcare project, the MEPs really were going to make or break the project. And oftentimes, Tekla is confused with just a structural product. And what we're about to show you is the real advantages that we can bring in multiple models, and specifically MEP models. Technology. So I was given the task by Andy and Carl of coming up with a presentation of linking BIM to the field to facilities management. Brian did a great job of talking about how we use BIM for planning and really focusing on not building information modeling, but building information management and how we manage that material. We at Barton Malow, we do not model. That's not what owners hire us to do. They hire us to manage their projects. We hire subcontractors that model. We work with design firms that model, and it's our job to analyze that information and really now taking it from the planning stage and directly into the field. So for the owners in the room, and even for some of us contractors and engineers, it's been a lot of BIM overload over the last several years. We've seen a lot of the detailing examples, a lot of the phasing examples, and then we've seen renderings that are often sold as BIM. And that's really not what this presentation is focused on. We've also seen a lot of software overload. We've heard Autodesk and their plethora of products, Tekla and the 4 products they showed us this morning. Our subcontractors have a laundry list of software applications. But how are we successful in really looking at BIM? And Brian did a great job of explaining several options of BIM, but this image actually came out of a presentation Brian gave earlier this year up at our corporate office. But we're sitting around and talking about BIM, and really what came up was BIM is like a Swiss Army knife. There are so many different options. You can continuously pull out a different area and something will come up. And Brian touched on that, really focusing on BIM beyond clash detection, and in Darren's presentation of adding more value other than just the geometry of a design. So really let's focus on the I part of BIM, focus on the information. That's what's going to allow us to better manage our projects and for an owner to manage the project throughout the life cycle of its use. So this is a screenshot that we'll get into it later on in the presentation, but we as contractors, this is a snapshot of all the information we capture during a project. We have the model, we have the picture, ensuring that what's been installed matches what was modeled. We have the O&M information, we have all the equipment information. How do we take all of that information, whether it's captured in the current way of doing it, in your email, in your Excel documents, on your Post-it notes, on your napkin sketch at lunch, and really bring that information into the model. So really the goal of the presentation is to provide an awareness and understanding of the opportunities with BIM to benefit your team beginning at substantial completion. When I say your team, really focusing on the owners sitting in the room today. And I chose substantial completion because we in the industry have often done a very poor job of giving owners the information they need at substantial completion when they start to manage that facility. And how can BIM become a better tool for them to manage their facility at day 1 of occupancy? Some current inefficiencies. The first time I ever showed this image, it was actually in a project presentation, and the owner actually raised their hand and stopped me in mid-sentence and said, "How did you get into that closet in my building?" That's not an uncommon image for our clients in the industry. Storage spaces are often the first thing cut out of program spaces. We, at the end of the job, one of the first things I ever did in the industry was I did the closeout phase of a project. And I was so happy when I put all those binders and all those drawings in those boxes and loaded them in my car and drove them and said, "Here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Owner. It's yours now." And never really thought about what that meant to them. And the Maryland General Hospital project is a great study on really understanding what it means to the owner when we give them those boxes and those binders and how inefficient that is of a process to them. Another inefficient process in the industry is the commissioning process. Just by a show of hands, how many projects that you in the room are currently working on have commissioning as part of the project? So a fair amount of projects. The commissioning process inherently is a very inefficient process. It's often not done by the design team or directly by the contractor. It's a third-party commissioning agent. It's someone else being brought into the project, and it's something else that needs to be managed and is very important to ensuring systems can be started up, and at substantial completion, things are operating the way they should be. Really, the inefficiency we found was knowing where we were with commissioning. If I called up the commissioning agent and I said, where do we stand today with commissioning this piece of equipment, that information was not readily available. And how can the model allow that information to be more readily available? So the Maryland General Hospital project. We heard from Darren say that the ideal delivery method is design build to be the most successful with BIM. I think that carries some weight, but I think oftentimes we get too focused on delivery method drives BIM success. This project, Maryland General Hospital, central care expansion, was a 100,000 square foot renovation and addition. The hospital did not shut down during this project. It stayed in complete use. It was a design bid build project. We submitted a bid and we were the low guy, so I don't know if that was good or bad. It turned out to be really good, but we were the one that won the project. We had no BIM requirements required to us from the design team. We had no requirements to our subcontractors for BIM deliverable to us. Brian's last slide on lessons learned focused on project-specific risks dictate BIM uses. Our subcontractors took that philosophy and said, we need to model to make sure we can prefabricate systems. The more they can prefabricate, the faster they can install it, and the cheaper it's going to be to the client at the end of the day. Cheaper, not product, but cheaper to install. So the MEP guys, they got together, they modeled, and Barton Malow said, we need to become part of this process. And we really focused on taking the geometry they were modeling, and they set up a workflow to have that clash-free vision, and we took the information to the next step. So focusing then on the facilities management end and what we learned, the current asset management of the owner and their operating group was life cycle of equipment was not optimized. They were not applying preventative maintenance to their equipment. They were more reactive than proactive. That's an inherent flaw to a facilities management setup. The warranty information was not readily available and accessed when someone came to troubleshoot an issue. So if someone came into this room to troubleshoot the VAV box, that person did not have the necessary information right then and there to fix the issue. And many of the pieces of equipment in the existing facility were not inventoried. They had no idea how much equipment they had. So I'm sure some of the owners in the room can potentially relate to that. So the challenge, we challenged our team to create a central database containing closeout, documentation, and maintenance information that can be easily accessed in the field, easily maintained, and linked to the BIM. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. That's a big challenge. Oftentimes we do all this modeling and it sits in the job trailer. It sits in the office away from where the project's built. The objective was really to streamline closeout and integrate facilities management. So we wanted to provide an accurate as-built at substantial completion, provide electronic closeout documentation, not just PDFs burned to a CD, but really provide an efficient use of the electronic closeout information, access all information in the field through a central database, ultimately increasing the life cycle of equipment. So on this project, we introduced a tablet PC. The tablet PC we show on the screen there is by Motion Computing. It's It's an F5. It's a rugged tablet PC that our superintendents are using on several of, actually many of our job sites on the East Coast right now. The great part about it is it's rugged and weatherproof. I can drop it from usually about 4 feet, and it doesn't break. Now, granted, the last time I did that, someone said you dropped it on carpet. Let's go out in the parking lot. And I'll do that afterwards if someone wants to take me up on it. But it was a tool that we found our superintendents could use to be more efficient. Well, then we said, the one I have here, and then this one's Brian's, mine's over there as well. This is a J3400. How could our project engineers also have a similar tool to be more efficient at our project managers? This one, like the one on the screen here, has a built-in camera. I can walk around the job site, and I can take pictures with this. I can mark it up with the pen. So similar to the iPad that I think we've all either grown to love or love to hate, but just another tool that our project teams can use to be more efficient. But how can we take that tool, that computer, superintendents, the other way we've described these is how can we eliminate the number of pockets a superintendent has? Do we have any superintendents in the room, just out of curiosity? So I always find it amazing that at least the superintendents I work with, they always seem to carry everything with them, and I never know where they store it. They have their walkie-talkie, they have their BlackBerry, they have their cell phone, they have their cameras, they have their clipboards, they somehow carry the drawings with them. They always have all of that information, but it's always scattered. It's never in a central database. So the tablet PC was a tool that we said we're going to use to eliminate the amount of pockets they have, get all the information captured in one place, and then ultimately leverage that field-generated data to increase model intelligence. Because if we don't have a company like Schuff Steel that Brian presented with that puts in all of that inherent good management information, that's stuff that we need to know to better manage it, and that's stuff that's often identified out in the field. So we focused on testing and inspection reports, commissioning, electronic closeout, and then preventative maintenance documentation. So BIM for commissioning. The standard process is a lot of binders, and at least for us in the past has been drawings highlighted to show the status of where we are. Well, what if we said a barcoded system with field entered data, track inspections in a central database, and then status updates of all that information, all within the model. So we used Tekla for construction managers. We had Bella Systems, which was the software we had on the tablet PCs in the field. We had a barcode we introduced that I'll get into in a couple slides. We had our standard laptops, desktop computers. We didn't need super BIM computers to be able to do this. And we had the tablet PCs. The barcode. Why was the barcode important? The barcode wasn't necessary, but we found it as a vital addition to the project. The barcode would be if you walked into this space and I looked at this diffuser, there would be a barcode on the ceiling grid that I could take the tablet PC, the RFID reader, scan that barcode, and it would pull up information. And we'll get into what information that is. And these are real screenshots or real images from the project at Maryland General Hospital. The important part, and I challenge the owners and the contractors in the room, is if you do this, make sure you get the input of the facilities management personnel that are going to manage the facility at the end of the day. We did not just go into Microsoft Word and type in barcode information or label information and spit out packets of barcodes. This was a very, what we call intelligent barcode. We looked at the type of equipment, or the equipment type, the location, and the number. Something that simple was actually not a very easy process to understand. There was a lot of correspondence with the facilities management personnel at Maryland General Hospital, but this system, this 4-part system, integrated very easily with their current process and didn't require them to go back and renumber and re-inventory the information they already had in the existing facility. One of the great things about using Tekla for construction managers is that the customability is endless. We can do that 10D and beyond type of customability. There is an out-of-the-box product, but with a very limited amount of intelligence, you can add in information tabs like we show here on startup information, commissioning information, and equipment attributes. These are all things that are captured during the commissioning process, but often just on a Microsoft Word sheet or an Excel document or a Post-it note, but bringing that information into the model. We also found that there were 4 different phases of commissioning for this specific project, and that was important for us to better plan our work moving forward, and also the owner to understand when they could start moving in. It's not just at the end of the substantial completion. We said, here you go, Mr. Owner, you can now move in. There was a phased turnover of the project. So the screenshot on the left is actually out of Vela Systems. On the bottom right is a screenshot out of Tekla Structures, and then obviously the model shown there in the middle. So for equipment attributes, we captured all this information in the field as we were walking. Our superintendent was walking with the commissioning agent and with the engineer and with the owner, and captured the equipment name, the location, the model number, the serial number, and all of that was integrated with the barcode. So as soon as we were done walking, we could go and scan that barcode, and all that information would be populated. That to an owner, we found was very important. They needed to know that information at the project turnover phase to be able to better manage the facility. Similar to what Brian highlighted with being able to plan work with a simple color-coded model, again, not taken into Microsoft Paint and Color. This is knowing what phase of the commissioning process we were at and being able to better plan our work. So green represented phase 1, blue represented phase 2, and orange represented phase 3. Something that simple, that's an easy visual communicator for people to understand instead of having to page through packets of information. So taking this all into, how did we integrate really the model, the office, the job site, the field, Vela Systems? The barcode was that link to this project's success and innovation, really. And giving these tablet PCs that the owner was paying for anyway, giving them to the owner at the end of the job to be able to use to help manage the facility. So how did this work? Well, we had, again, this is a screenshot out of Vela. You can see the pictures that were taken out in the field are in the photo area. The attachments below are the PDFs, the operation maintenance manuals, the warranty information, captured right in Vela or Tekla. We can do the same thing through their hyperlink manager. That gets synced seamlessly, really an easy button approach from Vela to Tekla. And we have all of this information. So when I go and I click on that pump in the model, all of this information easily populates. That's great. To me, I know I have captured the information needed, required in the specifications to deliver to the owner. We found that when the owners viewed this was a great tool for them as well to be able to capture all the information, be able to pull the PDF in the lower right if they had to troubleshoot the information, all of the model number and serial information right then and there as a good inventory of their equipment. Then taking it the next step in facilities management, really understanding the facilities management. I'm not going to claim to know a lot about facilities management. I know very little, but what we do know was really through open communication with the client. And that's what it comes down to, because each client manages their facility differently, and you need to understand how they manage their facility. We challenged ourselves, using the BIM as a 3D as-build, as the database to produce an accurate inventory list, and really streamline those service calls and focus more on preventative maintenance and not catastrophic failure reaction. So what we found during facilities management is the owner was really focused on two main things: the manufacturer information and the warranty and service information. He said, well, we could go into Microsoft Word, type up a couple documents, or go into Excel and make a spreadsheet and give it to them, or we could bring all that information in the model really easily. And that's what we did. We took that manufacturer information, created a tab right in Tekla that gave the manufacturer name, the address, the phone number, the contact person, and the website. So if I'm an owner, I go out with the tablet PC at the end of the job, I scan the barcode, all this information populates right then and there. I don't have to write down the serial number, go back to my office, or call somebody and say, give me the contact information. All of that is right there built into the model. Same thing with the warranty and service information. How many owners in the room know the warranty and service information of all their products that are installed in their building? I know we have some sophisticated owners, but I'll challenge you to say you probably don't know a lot of that information. And that's not necessarily your fault. That's our fault of not giving you that information in a better means of management. So we said, again, let's put all of that information into the model. So we created a tab, warranty and service information, that gave the warranty expiration date, the warranty information, the name of the contractor that installed that piece of equipment. Something happens to me, you can still go and call that contractor to get the equipment fixed. Their contact information, when the last time it was serviced, that date, etc. So all of that necessary information that we found from this specific client. And then we really started to understand their process of how they get into facilities management. And this is not so much, again, BIM on the job site. This is BIM really for facilities management, but before we could propose something, we had to understand their process. So we understand there were three main ways that they introduced or they serviced equipment. They had addition or replacement of equipment, they used maintenance work orders, or they had a service call. And I think there were several others, but we kind of grouped them into those three main categories. So the current process for new and replaced equipment was you get those boxes and binders of information from Barton Malow. That information is not linked to anything, it's given to you. Then that information gets entered into the FM software. I can't begin to guess on a $50 million project how long it would take someone to perform all those data reentry tasks, but I can pretty much guarantee you that given the state of the economy, that's a task that's probably forgotten about right now in the industry and is an inevitable problem to a project. So what if we said, well, we'll give you the electronic closeout and as-built documentation. That's all linked in the central database and easily maintained for accuracy in the model. And that was how we got to our one solution. Everything's linked. Whether it's right or wrong, it's linked. That's good. The current asset management for a maintenance work order. This came out of several correspondences and conversations, but we found this to be pretty accurate from really we shadowed one of their facilities management personnel. At the beginning of the month, the facilities management point person for the specific area of the project would print out all of the maintenance work orders for that area for the month. So maintenance required gets printed out, it goes into someone's mailbox. That person often has questions about it. They have to go and find the closeout and as-built documents, and then have to go into the facilities management software, have to repair the piece of equipment, complete a service survey to make sure that there were no other issues, and then that data gets re-entered into the facilities management software. We have a lot of processes in the industry that are like this, but we just focused on maintenance work orders for this specific one, but we said this process could be improved. And again, required maintenance is assigned to someone, so it's more of a proactive approach and not a reactive approach. That maintenance person has the tablet PC, so when they go out into the field, they can access all of the information they need. They don't have to go back and find the as-built or the closeout documentation or make any more phone calls. Everything's right there that they needed to do the task at hand. And then the checklist would be completed electronically in the field, really eliminating a lot of those data reentry steps and the time wasted processes. And similar again for service calls. I won't go through this one, but it was the same solution we found. for that specific case. So the importance of this is really a utility cost and replacement cost savings. Preventative maintenance can increase efficiency, similar to modeling on the front end of a project to increase the prefabrication. Preventative maintenance we found to be the same case for an owner. Really optimizing life cycle of assets. So again, with the preventative maintenance, not waiting for something to not work, really giving the service that equipment needs throughout the life cycle of it. Data entry savings to Maryland General on this project was all of that information was already entered. They didn't have to have someone go back and type in all the information. And the maintenance work order checklist completed in the field instead of coming back at the end of the day, similar to a superintendent at the end of the day coming back and doing their daily report. That's somewhat of an inefficient process and often would get forgotten about in some cases. And then this is just one of the lasting quotes from the owner on this project, our owner's representative, but they said this is a tool that we can no longer afford not to have. And since this project ended almost a year ago now, we've seen a lot more clients that at least want their contractors and design teams to really focus on giving them a useful deliverable at the end of the job. Moving forward, just a couple takeaways for really all of us in the room, but challenge your partners to bring more value at move-in and substantial completion. So not only on the front end with the BIM planning, but also how that front end planning is going to benefit at substantial completion. Maximize BIM efficiency with creation and analysis. So if you hire Thornton Tomasetti, you get a lot of that great model creation and information you need to better analyze and plan your work. Challenge all of your design team partners and subcontractors to assist you. Evaluate your current internal processes during facilities management and involve facilities personnel during design/construction to engage their intelligence. I think the single most takeaway from that is don't invite a facilities management person into a meeting like this. This is a stuffy environment for them. They want to be out in the field. Allow them to walk a facility with you, or allow them to take you through one of their facilities and tell you that they have problems here, 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 and here, and you help develop a process that will allow them to be more efficient. Remain flexible with software. One of the first slides I showed was a lot of different softwares. Really what we've focused on at Barton Malow is the Ifc File Format. For those non-technical people in the room, the best way to explain the Ifc file, it's the PDF of the BIM world. It contains all of that data, all of that information, but I cannot manipulate it. So give me your Ifc file. I can't change the geometry. I can only enhance the intelligence of that object. And then lastly, focus on the data to streamline your process during the life cycle of the building. And that's really one for the owners. Don't allow us to give you all of this information you're paying for and then not use it throughout the life cycle of the project. Thank you.